I don't even know when it is, when we actually.
Start the music.
Yeah. Oh, start.
I mean, is it one of those, should we just?
Yeah, start over.
Yeah.
Take two.
Hey there, don't know what happened. Technical difficulties beyond our control, I can assure you. Don't know where you were on this, but we are back, right, Raymond?
We are back.
It wasn't a rolling blackout.
Right.
Okay.
You were telling a very interesting story.
I was saying, I'm introducing this new thing where I got, axe to grind. And this is the case that I'm really ticked off about was the mom that's, whatever she's charged with now, but you got a year-old baby that's found wandering along in a diaper. And then they finally get mom in custody. I'm being nice when I'm saying mom.
And describe how they found her.
When she was on, here's her background. Here's why I'm really ticked off, and here's why I do have an axe to grind. She's got multiple felony convictions. She's on parole. I lost track how many misdemeanor convictions, and that's just in Harris County. So she's on parole. She's charged with a felony DWI, child endangerment. She's found passed out in a parking lot of a drive-through restaurant, like at 1 a.m. in the morning. 6-month-old is in the back seat, no restraint. You got an open beer can as well. So she's booked. They give her a PR bond, get out of jail free card. So now she's out. She's told to go to pretrial services and get all, and she doesn't do that. And then parole doesn't do anything either. There's no warrant out for her to rest. So she's on parole, she's on PR bond, and she's gone. For the life of me, it defies logic how that could have happened, because there should never have been a PR bond for someone who's on parole.
Right.
To begin with, especially when you look at the facts of this case, which I'm looking at. I would assume the magistrate would also be looking at what I'm looking at.
As public information, it should be. Right.
I don't know. I just
Senate Bill 6, doesn't that require them to look at their history?
Yes.
It does, and we're actually hearing that hearing today.
Right.
Funny you should mention that.
But before we get into that, joining us is
Doug Griffith. I'm the president of the Houston Police Officers Union.
the union. You all have been very vocal about this whole issue, just like we have, because I mean, this puts, well, everyone's lives in danger, but especially officers, because you don't know how many of these people are running around that are wanted.
Correct. We know that there's over 25,000 open warrants in Harris County. That's just felonies, if I'm not mistaken. So that puts our officers at risk every time they go out on the streets, because these guys know they're wanted. They know they didn't go to court. We don't know that when we make that stop. And as you look behind us, you see every single one of those people back there. That's a citizen of Harris County that lost their lives because of this quote unquote bond reform.
You actually had 2 law enforcement officers
Right.
who were in the line
Yes.
of duty.
Yes.
That are actually on this postal board, and that's Sergeant Kayla Sullivan and HPD Officer William Jeffrey, right?
Yeah.
So life in the line of duty. And then we had an off-duty New Orleans police sergeant that also was killed by a guy on multiple felony bonds. So it's
And I
real.
believe the San Jacinto deputy.
Yes, and we're now up to 177.
177. That's insane.
And that's only the ones we know of.
Thank you. Yes, and keep in mind, that's 177 people that should be here today. I mean, the reason that they were killed allegedly at the hands of somebody out on multiple felony bonds. If those defendants were incarcerated because they've all showed that they're very violent, and they've showed that they're going to keep committing crimes because judges decided, no, they can stay out in the public. That's why we've had 177 lives.
I can't imagine how frustrating it must be for your officers.
Oh, it's extremely frustrating. We see the same people over and over and over. Prime example, 2 weeks ago, I actually called a chase, a pursuit with some robbery suspects that were hitting Walgreens stores. They captured 3 of them. You're in jail. Apparently, they got out 2 days later because 2 days later, guess what was happening? Walgreens, early morning hours, same MO, same crooks. We know who they are. They're going to do the same thing day after day.
Would that have happened 8-10 years ago?
Absolutely not.
Right.
Those guys would still be in jail pending.
We actually saw, right before we came down here, we were watching some of the Senate is actually hearing about Senate Bill 6, the bond reform bill. And we actually saw the Harris County District Attorney's Office with a giant poster board showing the numbers. And you and I were looking at that going, we can't see anything prior to 2018 because they're that small on the chart. We can't even make out what they are. And then you see this, boom,
They skyrocket.
going up there. So it's,
we need to start holding these judges accountable some way,
Yes.
shape, or form. Because I love how they get on different news channels and make comments like, we have to give a bond.
Yes.
No, you don't.
No, you do not have to.
Oh, the Constitution says, yeah, the Constitution also says, there's a lot of things in there that it says that are not applicable to this type of scenario.
Right. You're the judge. You can make decisions. You can decide that, hey, you picked up another criminal charge. I am revoking your bond. Judges have done it.
Oh, yeah, we have no problem with first offenders. I get
Right.
that. But when you've done 3 or 4, like the individual you're looking at right there, you've got 4 or 5 cases where they've committed violent offenses.
Yeah.
And it's just, oh, I have to give a bond. No, you don't.
One of
It's
the-
just a lie.
hypothetically, let's just say, even if you do have to give a bond, what's to preclude them from saying, okay, I get it, I got to give a bond, $2 million.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or
How's
this one, the DA's office has filed over 1,500 requests for either no bond or a higher bond.
Right.
They go, oh, well, they didn't ask for a hearing. When you give them that written notice, that is your request for a
Yeah, I'm
hearing.
so tired of hearing that. But first the judges blame it on the DA's office. Well, they don't hold hearings. They don't need to hold hearings. And then they blame the bail bonding companies. Well, it's not the bail bonding companies. It's the judges that are making these decisions. One thing that I thought was funny when we were watching the Senate, the hearing, and Senator Joan Huffman asked David Mitchum, who was right under Kim Moggy, the DA's office. So are there any people in the Harris County Jail because they had a joint? Right.
And
And
they
it's
like
like,
that, like, I don't know where, whoever keeps saying that, we're keeping people in custody in Harris County Jail for little bitty stuff.
That's not true. Do not believe that. Nobody is sitting in the Harris County Jail because they shoplifted from Target, or they had a joint in their pocket, or they jaywalked. That's not true. And another interesting thing that came out with that was that they were saying that almost everybody, right, in the Harris County Jail right now, it's an assault. They assaulted people. I mean, trust me, the only people sitting in the Harris County Jail right now are dangerous people. They're not shoplifters. They didn't drive drunk. They didn't have a joint. That's not true. So anybody that wants to keep making that argument that poor people for petty crimes are sitting in the Harris County Jail, that's not true.
Completely not.
Yeah.
Completely not.
Doug, you've done some stuff with the felon in possession of a weapon,
Yes.
which basically is felon in possession of a gun,
Right.
firearm as well. And you've looked into that issue, right?
Yes. And when you take a look, almost all of them receive a bond. If you're a felon in possession of a firearm, that means you've already been convicted of a felony offense. Yet you turn around and violate the law by carrying a weapon. You should be holding people in custody until they have to see a judge.
Right.
And they don't do that. Again, I can't remember the numbers because I don't have that report with me, but it's a high number. And it's even higher with the number of people that the courts just say, we're going to dismiss that case.
Yeah.
No probable cause. How do
Right.
you not have probable cause? You've proven he's a felon. You've proven he's in possession of a firearm. Oh, well, they can have it. They can have it. It's personal property. And
They're a
it's
convicted
not.
felon, they can't have a weapon. And I mean, I'm sorry, but anybody that should not be walking around armed is a convicted felon, right? I mean, come on.
Right.
Were you gonna
Because
say something?
they won't charge you.
Hold on, our Cracker Jack producer is keenly looking at what's now he's pointing at.
We have a Facebook user, Chanel, who says, while she still supports the bail reform just needs a huge critiquing and stop bonding out serious, violent felony criminals that are on parole.
We have said all along that misdemeanor bond reform, good. That's a good thing. Nobody should sit in jail awaiting trial for a theft charge or writing a hot check, because those people, I mean, theoretically, everything could come crashing down around them because they can't go to work, they lose their car, they lose their apartment. That we have never, ever looked at that issue, because misdemeanor bond reform, which is court ordered, that's a good thing, although there's some issues with it. But overall, it's a good thing. You just have criminal district court judges who took it upon themselves. Hey, let's do that with felonies too, right?
Exactly right.
There's no mandated federal court order telling a criminal district court judge they have to do this. They kind of got together on their own and decided that it was a good idea.
You know, one of the things that we're doing at CrimeStoppers is we're starting to take a real deeper dive into felon in possession of a weapon, a gun. The issue of guns is on everybody's mind right now, for obvious reasons. One of the things that no one is talking about, with your exception and our exception here, is the felon in possession of a firearm. And I noticed it was interesting. We started pulling, we actually have, and I have these, I have actually colored folders here. This was not my idea.
Yes, it was.
This was my colleague's idea. I actually had to put
scared with this.
For those that know me, would be laughing at this. But one thing I've seen, this is a file of PR bonds that are given to felon in possession of a firearm, a gun. PR bonds, get out of jail, free card. And one thing I've noticed, and I'm going to give a shout out because I believe that, you know, in fair play, there's one particular court, there's at least 4 cases that I pulled in the last few weeks. They were given a PR bond out of the 179th, which is generally a magistrate. And then I've noticed several days later, the actual sitting judge of the 179th has pulled it, yanked the PR bond, and has brought them back and has either given them a cash bond or they remain in jail trying to make bond.
That's great.
That to me says a lot. So shout out to the 179th District Court Judge for doing what you should be doing, and I hope that the other judges are taking a good look at it. We are. Yeah.
We did a breaking bond, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks ago, where a judge, I mean, it's almost comical, made a higher bond for a possession charge than a felon in possession of a weapon. Remember that?
I remember that one because that person was on parole.
Yes.
And was charged with felon in possession 2 weeks after he got out on parole.
Yeah.
And you're given a PR bond. And then now he's charged with murder. But he was also charged with a drug case too, which was a higher bond.
Than felon in possession of a weapon.
I mean, here's one. This is going to be discussed today at the Senate hearing right here. And this is one that was featured on Breaking on Bond.
Yeah.
You had a guy, Roy Thompson, who had 3 prior felonies. He was charged with assault of a pregnant person, which I guess, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, that's considered a violent offense. At least
You would hope.
The 351st District Court judge, and this was the actual judge because I looked at the documentation, so you can't say a magistrate, you know, did this one, gave a PR bond to this guy for assault of a pregnant woman. Now, guess what? He's gone.
Yeah.
You guys are looking for him. We have to put out a cash reward now for something that should have never happened. And by the way, that was illegal to do that.
Right.
Because that is a violation of Senate Bill 6.
Explain that.
Senate Bill 6, which was passed and went into effect in December of 2021, eliminated PR personal recognizance, get out of jail free cards for offenders charged with most violent crimes, including assault of a pregnant person.
Right.
That went into effect December 1st. Roy Thompson got out on a PR bond February 22. You know, again, I don't know.
And what could be done to, I mean, we've seen this happen before where judges are still doing this while it's really, I guess, against the law to do it, right?
I submitted written testimony today because I felt it was more important to sit next to you doing this breaking bond.
Well, of course it
So
is.
that's kind of pretty. I
Get
was
your
like, do I
priorities
go to
straight.
Austin and testify, or do I do this?
You do this.
I don't know. It was a 5-4 vote. I'm not gonna say when it was in favor, but I said I'm asking the committee to order a list of all felony PR bonds that have been granted since Senate Bill 6 went into effect, because I want to know, is this an anomaly, or is it others out there? Like usually you and I know, Doug, where there's one, there has to be others.
Right.
I'd be shocked if there wasn't others, but I would think that the Senate committee would want this information.
What could happen to judges if they do
I
it?
think next session, you're going to see some teeth put into the bill.
Yeah.
Right now, it's this is what you're supposed to do, but there's no ramifications if you don't do it.
Right, yeah.
So I think next session, you're going to see teeth put into the bill. And I also think they're going to take a good hard look at giving PR bonds to felons in possession of a firearm.
And the sad part is, we're gonna have to start doing stuff that we hate to do, like bar complaints, stuff
Yeah.
like that. That's not something that we really care to do. We really don't want to get into that. But at some point, we got to stand up and say, look, this isn't right. You need to do your job, and you need to protect the citizens of Harris County. And right now, they're refusing to do that.
Right.
Not only, I'm gonna put it like this, it makes the court system look bad. It makes the DA's office look bad. It makes law enforcement look bad.
Yeah.
We are doing our job. The DA's office is doing their job, but it's falling by the wayside in the courts. And until we find some way to correct that, and you know what? I am so sick of these little crybaby judges right now that jump out there and go, oh, well, I got voted out, so I'm not doing anything. Rest of my time here. Well, then leave.
Right,
I'll
yeah.
find a magistrate to fill your shoes.
Yeah,
and
right.
let's get these trials going.
They can pull in some sitting judge, right? I mean, yeah. One thing too, and we keep pointing this out, November. We've already seen success, right? We saw success in the primary. Some of these judges are on their way out. November is going to be big. And we will remind you what some of these judges have done and why you really need to pay close attention to the criminal district court judges for Harris County residents is almost, or maybe even more important than county judge, than governor. I mean, seriously, this is affecting Harris County more than any other county in the state. And it's because of these judges that they need to do something else for a living.
And, a lot of people say, oh, well, this is a partisan issue. It's not.
No.
It is not.
No.
You look
I don't
behind you,
care.
That's right.
partisan.
Yeah.
There's nothing partisan about this. It's about doing the right thing, putting the people in a position. I don't give a damn if you're Republican or Democrat.
Right.
I don't care. Crooks don't care. They could care less what side of the tracks you're from or anything else. They decide they're going to rob you. They're going to stick a gun in your face, and they're going to take your money, or they're going to shoot you. They're not asking any questions about, what political party you're with. Don't give a damn. But the deal is, we do. We need to pay attention and put the right people in place that can do the position. We support Republicans. We support Democrats. I am every day for whoever does the best job. So don't listen to those clowns out there. They're going, oh, this is just partially trying to get Republicans in office. That's not it.
No.
Gene Wu, pay attention. That's not it. Learn, study, do something.
No, that's an excellent point, and we've been harping on that too. It's not, we're not anti-Democrat, anti-Republican.
We've had many Democrat candidates sitting
Right here, where you are, that's right.
We are supporting quite
Yes.
a few Democratic judges.
Yes, and any judge, if you're running for a district court judge, if you are a district court judge, please, you can sit in this man's chair and you can say whatever you want to. This is an opportunity to explain this to everybody. Maybe we do have it wrong, but again, not one time have I had a judge call me up and say, all that information you had about that was wrong. They can't, because it's in black and white, right?
And I may be overstepping on bounds here,
Go
and
ahead.
I'm pretty confident in saying, Gene Wu, if you want to come sit in this seat right here, you were a prosecutor, explain to us how it works. feel free to come on and have this seat and explain to these gentlemen how this is supposed to work.
And I spoke to him,
A month ago. when
yes,
we just,
yeah, and I told him then, and yeah, seriously, please come on here and say what you want to say. You can call us knuckleheads and everything else. Can't hurt my feelings.
He called me bad names on Twitter.
No name calling, no name calling. Seriously, this should be viewed as an opportunity to say what you want to say. And if we've got all this wrong, if this is how we should do it, we should allow people to be out on 8, 10, 12 felony bonds. Come and sit here and explain that to silly
And
me.
then you can explain why in the last 3 years, this has all of a sudden become an issue when it wasn't an issue before.
Yes, and that was something that was illustrated with a graphic and everything, right?
Yes.
During the Senate hearing.
So, I mean, look at what we're going to do tonight. And we were talking about this before we went on the air, on the standoff with that put the sheriff's deputies' lives in danger, right? I mean, let's be frank about it.
Yeah, 7-hour standoff. And this guy is just, I mean, you just look at him on paper and you think, who would think that, this is a good idea? 4 times, the DA's office asked this particular court, no bond, revoke the bond, no bond. Well, then what happened?
They didn't do it. And now you got 3 more charges. You put officers' lives in danger. You put the public's lives in danger. And you had someone who'd already been to the penitentiary on prior convictions, obviously, out on 4 felony bonds. All of them were committed one after another. It wasn't like 4 felonies at once.
Yeah.
You had multiple opportunities, and pretty much the defendant pretty much told the court, I'm not going to do anything. I'm gonna violate the law, and basically, you're going to keep putting me back out. I'm going to keep committing crimes, and here we are again. And again, so many of these things that we've seen, that we've profiled, you scratch your head and go, none of this should have ever happened.
It's almost like a common sense approach, right? It's sort of, if you, again, most people are not criminals, okay? They're not. Most people are good, law-abiding citizens. You've got a segment of the society that they're in the criminal element. They choose that, right? I mean, they choose to go rob people like you and I get up and go to work every day. I mean, it's what they do, correct? And these people are the ones that need to be incarcerated it's a matter of public safety.
And I'm gonna liken it to this. You got a child that keeps messing up, keeps doing the same thing over and over. What do you do to them? Some people don't believe in spanking, so they put them in timeout. There's consequences for your actions.
Right.
Even as a child, there's consequences for your actions. Right now, absolutely no consequences for their actions.
Well, there's a consequence for if you or I decide we're not going to work anymore, we're not going to get paid, right? I mean, so it's sort of like there are certain things that we all have to do because if we don't, there's going to be some sort of bad outcome, right?
It's time to end the coddling of criminals. It's time to end the condoning of criminal behavior, and it's time to end turning criminals into victims. And we got to reclaim our neighborhoods back.
Yeah, I mean, there's a move afoot to sort of tear down the criminal justice system as we know it and then have something else. But I don't understand what that something else is going to be. Everybody cannot be rehabilitated. Everybody doesn't want to be rehabilitated. Sure, there are people that they commit crimes because they're feeding a drug habit or they have some sort of a mental illness or issue. There are people that you can pull out of the system, but it's not people that are going to be out on multiple felony bonds because they don't care what the system says. They're going to do what they want to do.
And that's why we do what we do.
Yes, we do.
Calling them out.
Yes, we do. Every Tuesday. Hey, thank you so much for watching.
Before you guys go,
Raymond's got a question.
Yep, there's a Facebook user who says some felons aren't felons. It should be a case-by-case basis because my coworker only became a violent offender because she was defending herself from a domestic violence situation. Now she's terrified of her life because she can't buy a gun to protect herself, and the guy that offended her is getting out of jail soon.
What kind of advice would you give to that? That's kind of tough because it's, you kind of have to wonder how she got convicted.
I want to bet there's more to the story
Yeah,
than
we
what's
got-
being
yeah.
said.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
we've got good crooks that don't get that kind of treatment.
Right.
So I don't see, there has to be more to that story. I'm willing to bet there's a lot more to that story.
Yeah, there was a,
We'd be remiss to offer any perspective
Yeah,
without looking
right.
at the actual.
yeah, and what was it in Pasadena yesterday or today
Yeah.
where the guy said he thought his girlfriend was a burglar
Yeah.
and shot her. Well,
3:30 a.m. Yeah.
yeah, and now, there's obviously some questions about that.
Nobody's actually charged today
Yeah.
with manslaughter.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's a tough situation. But yeah, there's a lot of unanswered there, right?
Yeah, but welcome to call me and we can look into it. I have no problem with that.
And Andy, how do we get the information that are in your fancy little folders? How does the public get it? They want to know.
Well, we're going to be reporting on a lot of it in
If
Breaking
you
Bond
send me
segments.
a lifetime supply of Swedish fish. I just got a contract deal with Bazooka Gum on another stuff, so keep supplying my sweet tooth and we'll talk.
4 M&Ms and you get it all. But no, we will, we're going to be, you're still compiling everything. I mean, still
This
looking
is just
into
in
it.
its infantile stage.
Right.
But this was a good tease though.
Yes, it was. And it is. Again, you keep pointing this out. Everybody, and rightfully so, thinks a lot about gun violence because look at all the things that have happened across the country. But you don't hear this big outcry of felons in possession of a weapon. Those are the people who should not have guns. And we keep seeing judges repeatedly granting them bond for
Well,
that.
this is part of the problem with that argument. They keep talking, we need gun control, gun control, gun control. Well, if we actually held people accountable for the laws on the books right now, we wouldn't have these issues.
Right.
It's against the law to take a gun on school property. But what are the penalties for that? We haven't seen any.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys get parole, probation, I mean, not parole, but they get probation for this kind of stuff, or they get, time served and they walk on. We have to start putting the teeth to some of these offenses, especially with a weapon. For a while there, we had it where if you committed a violent offense and you had a weapon, you had to do at least half your sentence.
Yes.
Half.
Yeah.
I remember a guy getting 30 years, he had to do 15 years, mandated.
That was a threat and that loomed large.
It
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
It actually prevented a lot of crime.
Right.
And we have to get back to that kind. I know it sounds horrible, but that's what we have to get back to. We
Tough
have to
love.
hold people accountable.
Right.
Levon says, thank you guys. Need more of you guys.
Hey, thank you for watching. Thank all of you for watching, and be sure to tune in to Fox 26 News tonight at 9 for a Breaking Bond report. Thanks.